talk show once. Worst 2 minutes of our lives. The Kate Daly Show starts now.
You must learn to listen when your body whispers. Before sickness shouts, the body always speaks. When you yawn too much, it is not laziness. No, it is your blood crying for iron, the metal of life. When you breathe and still feel no air, what we call air hunger, your body has become too acidic. That is lack of vitamin B1. If your eye twitch beneath the lid or your muscles jump like frightened fish, this is called tetany. It means your body is too alkaline. Add a spoon of apple cider vinegar in warm water. Let the acid bring balance again. When heart beats too strong or blood pressure rise, your body needs potassium or vitamin D. When muscles grow weak like old bamboo, you need salt, pure natural salt. If your belly swells after food like a frog after rain, you need more stomach acid. Take betaine hydrochloride before meal and the fire will return. If your lower back aches, your body is calling for vitamin D. If you are cold when others are warm, you need iodine, the spark of the thyroid flame. Remember this, my student, never silence the body with pills or chemicals. Each symptom is a message. Find the root, feed the deficiency, and the body will heal itself. Nature already gave you the answers. You only need to listen. Follow me, student, so that the old wisdom of healing is never forgotten.
All right. You know, it's going to be a good show when you are having, the Chinese medicine guy start out the show. Wash on, wash off. And I always think of like that, and then always just, I don't know, that was an interesting clip, by the way, and I do want to get Pam's comments on that. Today, the guest is Pam Bartha, and she is raspy. Hi, Raspy Kate. I know, my voice is slowly coming back. Anyway, I didn't sound too good yesterday. So I appreciate you guys coming on today. And by the way, Pam Bartha, our guest, is the Parasite expert. I really love what this gal does. And she's in Canada. Her website is Live Disease Free. And I'm going to go ahead and put that banner up right now. I forgot to do that. This is the website's on the banner if you watch this on YouTube, Rumble, or X right now. So for all of you joining me live, I'm so glad that we're going to be talking about parasites today because Pam, it's kind of fascinating to me still that, and I can imagine why, because I wasn't really clear on what parasites, that we all have them. Okay. And so I had a friend who said, parasites, like you would have the flu, you would have gone to a South American country, you would know. And that's ridiculous to think that we might all have parasites. Okay. And so almost like looking at me like a crazy person. So I would love to get your 2 cents on that and introduce you. And I'm so glad you're here. Thanks, Pam.
Thank you so much for having me, Kate. I'm honored to be here.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you. So what do you think about that statement?
Well, number one, do you have pets? Like we all, usually most of us have pets. And do you deworm your pets? Of course we do, right? And so if there were no parasites in the developed countries, we would not have parasites in our pets. The reality is that parasites are in our soil, they're in our water, they're in our pets, they're on produce, they're part of life, they're in every single country. It's just that in developed countries, we treat our water, so we're not drinking raw water. But they're even in our lakes. Like, I don't know when, like in our local lakes here, my son, when he was younger, he got swimmer's itch. And I thought it was bacteria, but then I did some digging and it's actually blood flukes. And so, yeah, like swimmer's itch is like schistosomiasis, blood flukes. And so your immune system should hopefully clear them all. But if like they dig into your skin and you get these huge welts, and if your immune system doesn't clear all of them, then over years, they live in you, they start to reproduce. And if you're super healthy and strong and you're not taking a lot of antibiotics and have a healthy lifestyle, your body manages them for years. But it really depends on our environment as to, with our exposure, how these parasites impact us. So some of us, like myself, were on a lot of antibiotics, which really devastates your ecosystem, your natural defense in your body, and then you're very susceptible to the parasites in your environment. So parasites are in every country. It's just that, sure, if you drank a bunch of raw water, you would get really sick, but that's not how a lot of parasites work. You can get them from your horses, your dogs, your cats, and like the worms especially, they start to live in you, and they don't cause a lot of problems at the start because they're not very populated in your body. But in time, if you don't treat them, they become an issue. What has been really hitting me, and I've known this, but people every week are coming to me like from different countries, and they're saying, you know, Pam, when I grew up, we like as a school child, like we always dewormed kids like twice a year in our schools. All the kids were dewormed. This is like Jamaica, the Philippines, Japan, many different countries. But have you ever dewormed your kids? Like, is that something, have you ever, like, we don't deworm ourselves or our kids. So, and that just hit me like a huge light bulb moment. It's like those, so like people always ask me, why, Pam, you know, if MS is caused by parasites, then why wouldn't they have more MS in the less developed countries? It's because they deworm their children. It's part of the norm every year, twice. They even sometimes look at their stool and check to see the egg count, things like that. So it's just that we don't do that. And interestingly enough, in Japan, one of my students was saying, like, from his wife who grew up there, they no longer deworm children because they thought they took care of the problem. And now they're starting to see a rise in multiple sclerosis, especially in the northern part of Japan. Interesting. It's not probably the only cause, but it's quite an interesting fact.
Okay. So that brings up then a question about, I've learned so much from Pam through the years, and she's worked with people I know and they adore her. She knows her stuff. So tell us about you, because people need to know what happened to you in order to understand why you're doing what you're doing. And she meets with, she actually consults with people one-on-one to help them. So tell us about your story.
So I grew up as a very healthy person. I grew up on a farm. I was on a lot of antibiotics. Those are really important things. So I was exposed to parasites, which I didn't know. And I also was on a lot of antibiotics, or that was just what the doctors did back in the day. And so when I was 28 years old, I thought I was a really healthy person. I had gut issues for years, like constipation and things like that. But I was super healthy. I was raising children. I was eating right. I was not drinking, not smoking. And then one day I started to lose vision in my left eye. And within 3 days, it was like that, like a complete patch over my eye. And I was really scared, but I went to the specialist and I had never been sick. So I thought they were going to fix me. And when I went there, they're like, this is really serious. And they referred me to an MS clinic on the West Coast in Canada. It's like one of the best MS hospital clinics we have. And I went to see the specialist, and I was quite scared because I had a complete blackout. I also noticed that I was dealing with a lot of tingling and weakness in my legs and like terrible headaches and a lot of fatigue. So I went to the specialist thinking they were going to figure out what it was. And then he went through his tests and he said I had multiple sclerosis. And he said back, and this was like 37 years ago, he said, there is no known cause and there is no cure for MS. You are going to become completely disabled in time. And people are going to tell you about all kinds of snake oil cures. But as the expert, I'm telling you, there's nothing you can do to change your life. You're going to be completely disabled in time. And I left his office devastated. We drove home through the mountain pass. It was pouring rain. And all I could think about was like, what a burden I would be to my husband. I was 28 years old. And how was I going to take care of my 2 young children? So I got home and my mother stepped in to help me because I couldn't take care of myself, let alone my kids. She was just a huge angel for me. And then I just cried out to God. I'm just like, he answered so many of my prayers in the past. And I just like begged him. And I just had this feeling inside of me that he would bring good out of this situation. And so my mother-in-law gave me this book on integrative health, and that started my journey. And it's an old book written by Dr. William Crook in 40 years ago. Don't buy it. It's really old, but you can find it in a library. It's a classic. And that doctor was talking about how chronic infections in the body were causing disease with multiple sclerosis and other diseases. And when you treat those infections, which we call parasites, the body can recover. So I decided to go and take a different path at that point. I decided not to follow standard of care, to take the immunosuppressive drugs, because they didn't offer me any hope.
Okay.
So then I read about another 4 books. This was before the internet. I didn't even have a computer. And these 4 doctors they're medically trained doctors, hero doctors, like way ahead of their time, talking about how chronic infections in the body were causing all disease. And so they were treating. They knew a lot about candida at the time. They knew about parasites, but they didn't really know like what we were really dealing with, and they used more herbs. But that started my journey. And then since then, I went back to university. I got a science degree. I wanted to help people. I didn't want to go through med school because it was like a torture for my family. So I decided to be a teacher. And that was perfect. And so I coached people at nights and just started that way. And then I left my teaching profession, and I've been coaching for decades now, working with large groups of people all over the world. We're in more than 20 countries. We've served thousands of people. We're actually coming up to 10 years. This year is our 10th year. We have students that I worked with 10 years ago that are still MS free, that went on to, I see them on social media, like they're working out. They've written books, they've started podcasts, they start clinics. They're making a difference in the world. And so since then, like, I'm an avid researcher. We've got an amazing blog on livediseasefree.com, and it really helps people to understand what they're dealing with, the types of parasites. So since learning about, candida, the mold, the yeast issues, and then Lyme disease, now we have really got a really good understanding of the types of protozoa and worms that we're dealing with. And I know more and more people are really becoming like curious and aware that parasites are probably causing a lot of their symptoms. Yes, what causes our symptoms are nutritional deficiencies and toxicity and parasites, right? Those are the 3 things. So if you live in a country where you're taking lots of supplements and you're eating right and you're still having symptoms, you probably have a huge disruption in your microbiome. And the more infested we are, the sicker we become. And we end up where our immune system is no longer able to defend us. And then we have a disease label like MS, PLS, Parkinson's, like cancer, like all these things.
Geez. Is it anything degenerative over time is probably at the core of parasite?
Well, think about it this way too. It's not usually like one parasite that's causing all your problems. I always like to tell people it's like a weedy garden. Like if you've ever had a garden, you're not just going to have one type of weed in your garden. You will have all kinds of different types of weeds. So it's our microbiome is really out of balance. We have dysbiosis. That means we're out of balance. So we have the people that I work with, they have worms and they have protozoa issues, and they also have bad bacteria, and they have fungi, and they have to knock back each of those categories over multiple cycles, and also building a healthy lifestyle and bringing back the good microbes. But when you do all of those things and you treat from big to small over multiple cycles, people feel better than they have felt in decades. It's the best anti-aging there is. And unfortunately, most of our practitioners, they really do not understand. They know like the fungus and the candida. They have a somewhat of an understanding of the Lyme infections, but they have no skill at identifying and treating the worms. And they are thousands of times bigger than bacteria, fungi, or protozoa. They cause so many more significant symptoms. And we're seeing in our students that flukes, like with the really sick, they are really, really common. They're so pro-inflammatory. They're linked with cancer. We're seeing them a lot in especially MS. I had flukes, and flukes are really nasty. We didn't learn much about them in university, but they're really awful. So.
Wow. And by the way, if you're watching this on YouTube, X at the Kate Daly Show, or Rumble, let me just say, Pam, please tell your age, because the comments coming in are what? Because you do not look your age, and I have a feeling that it's a lot of those parasites that are gone. So how old are you?
64.
It's stunning. It is stunning. I mean, you look like you're 40 years old. It's amazing to me, because last time I interviewed, I did not believe you. I was like, there is no way she's 64. I love this. I think that's fantastic. And I think it's just doing things right with your health. I really do. I think we could probably solve a lot of those things. So is there any, this is one big question, and I want to make sure I ask this before I forget to ask this. But, there's a lot of information about bringing parasites, to the surface by doing treatment. And then if you don't do it in a certain way, it can actually cause more issues. Can you please address that?
Yes, it is really important to treat effectively. If you, let's say, treat over several cycles and you stop too soon, then
Okay.
you could have problems with them, the larva. Sometimes it's the larva too, right? It's not just the big worms, but the larva, the immature forms, they move into your blood, they move into the central nervous system. They
Mhm.
can cause problems in your liver, in your pancreas, in your brain. You can end up with a tumor. So yeah, it is really important. Like what I say is that with our live disease-free approach is, number one, we get ready to treat so that we're feeling a lot better, so that we tolerate effective treatments. And then when we're ready to treat, then we're using a layering of therapies. We're using the parasite drugs, antimicrobial herbs, and also chlorine, an oxidizing agent. I don't know if I
Yeah.
can say, it's a bad word. So it's an oxidizing agent. It's oxygen therapies. All
Mhm.
right.
Mhm. I know
So
what you're talking about.
we're using all of those, and we're treating over multiple cycles, and
Mhm.
that's really important too. And what I say, like with the people I work with, they're heavily infested. So when you become symptom free, you still treat a couple of cycles. And then instead of just quitting and going, I'm cured,
Right.
then you wouldn't treat monthly. You would maybe go 2 months out and then treat, and then see if you're still passing anything, and then go 3 months out and then 4 months out. But honestly, we should all be treating parasites at least once a year, twice a year. It depends on our exposure. If we're like outdoors people and animal people and
Mhm.
eating a lot of produce and things like that, like I would do minimum once or twice a year. But someone like myself who's had a history of multiple sclerosis, plus I have horses and we have dogs and we have chickens, we had sheep. So like we're around and we're outside, and I love gardening. So then I do like 3 times a year. And you listen to your body too. Like if you have high energy, if you sleep really well at night, you don't wake up through the night, if your gut is really like you digest well, you don't have gas, you don't have constipation, you don't have diarrhea, like if your immune system is strong, if you have lots of energy, those are all signs that your microbiome is in balance. But if you start, having mood swings and hormonal symptoms for women, that's a big one. So many women, they think their hormones are out of balance, and doctors are not aware that parasites, they can actually make hormones. They benefit from our hormones, and also they benefit from fluctuations, like certain times of the month they will be more active in us, and at certain times of the month they'll be less active in women. So then we think that it's our hormones, when in fact it's just a parasitic load. And if we take hormones
Mhm.
when we're dealing with parasites, then it can actually benefit the parasites and
Oh,
make us sicker. So it's so important that a doctor would first make sure that their microbes are balanced well, that they do not have a parasitic load before. And what we have seen with all of our students is that women no longer have the day sweats, the night sweats, the mood swings, the bloating, all of that stuff. And they're like, oh, I guess it wasn't my hormones. It wasn't. So
oh my gosh. Wow. That's
it's
enlightening.
it's really huge.
Oh my gosh. Okay. And so if you're having a lot of constipation and gas, that's not normal. People think
No,
sometimes that's just normal because of what you're eating, but you should not have those things
no,
at all.
that's right. No.
And as far as like the different types of parasites, because I know when you work with people, you actually are identifying the parasites, because that's the big question that comes out a lot is, well, what parasites do I have? Are they gut ones, brain ones? I mean, how many? There's like so many, right?
Right.
All
And
the
it,
doctors.
yeah, it's difficult because you may have a neurological symptom, but that doesn't mean the parasite is in your brain because there's this big, it's called the gut brain axis of a highway of nerves between your gut and your brain. So whatever's going on in your gut can give you all kinds of neurological symptoms. But what we do know that like what we use is number one, we don't have good tests to identify parasites. They're about 10% effective. So I just say to my students, save your money because it's going to cost, if it doesn't cost you anything, go ahead and do it. But just don't be surprised if it doesn't show what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
And so how we identify that or how we figure out a game plan for recovery and kind of figure out what people are dealing with is we look at their health history. We look at the health history of their parents. We look at their symptoms. So there are very specific symptoms for different types of parasites. We also, if they want to, they can go to a practitioner, get energy tested. And so instead of figuring out which parasites we have, they will take like one dose of the common parasite drugs and they'll bring it into your energy field and they'll be able to tell if it balances you or if it strengthens you or if it doesn't make any difference. So then we get a list from them, from the doctor or the practitioner, as to which of the parasite drugs are going to be most helpful. And we can do that for herbs too. And then we also really look at what our students are passing. So they're called oxidizing enemas. And so they are using a very safe amount of oxygen in the water and it kills parasites on contact. So they will be passing worms that look like spaghetti noodles. So that'll be roundworms, or they'll be passing these flat ribbon-like that can sometimes be segmented too. Those would be tapeworms, or we can see that they're passing flukes. And so then we take all of this information together and, the energy test results and what they're passing, and then they're able to build a comprehensive plan because we can't rely on like stool tests because they miss everything basically, unfortunately.
Okay. Wow. Here's a question from Kristen. May have missed it, but how do you test to see if you need a more in-depth parasite treatment? Because I know a lot of people are hitting the internet, they're going on Amazon, and they're just ordering what they're calling a parasite treatment, and they're only doing that for about 30 days. So good question, Kristen. Go ahead.
So a lot of people are using like, I don't know if I'm allowed to say the names of the parasite drugs, but they're using just things they're on forums, they're just trying things. They don't even use the right dosages. That's actually pretty dangerous because if you are using a treatment at suboptimal doses, you can make the parasite resistant to it. So it's not going to be helpful in the future. And, let's say ivermectin, for example, that is a drug that will only treat certain parasites. So if you don't have those, it's not going to help you. So it is really important to know what you're passing and to have knowledge of that. And also like everything else, just because we've worked with so many people. And another important thing to know is that there's not like one parasite drug that'll get rid of all the roundworms. So like if we're seeing that, we're looking to see what our students are passing as far as the worms, right? And then we look at other like symptoms for protozoa and bacteria like Lyme disease and things like that. But if you, let's say, are passing flukes, you're not just going to take one medication that's geared towards fluke. You take like 3 or 4. Okay. And you're doing it over multiple cycles because they're not that effective. They are helpful, but they're not that effective. And so I have been studying under different doctors and they're using stronger protocols. And it's really important too that you don't just keep doing the same thing if it's not working. Like you really need to have people need to have guidance in treating parasites. They really do. Unless you're healthy and you just want to go to the health food store and get, let's say, a blend of black walnut and wormwood and cloves and just try, you will probably pass a few parasites, but you're not going to get well if you have any type of significant symptoms. You'll find that you will need a much more comprehensive approach to do that. And so you're just going to have to work with somebody. You can try to look for a practitioner in your area. Like if you look at all of our stuff, then you know what kind of questions to ask to really tell if a practitioner is going to be able to help you or not. And you can always reach out to me because that's what we do is we really help people to make individualized plans so that they can recover. And you'll have that skill for the rest of your life, right? Once you know all of this, you become your own healthcare advocate. And I think it's the most important skill that you can have because if you don't have your health, not a lot matters after that, right?
So true. You've worked with friends of mine, by the way, they just you're just amazing. So that's why I had to have you back. The website is livediseasefree.com, and it's right on the ticker that's passing on the screen. Black walnut. When people are taking, as I know there's a supplement with black walnut, a whole bunch of them in there. Now, is that something that we should be taking all the time? Does it benefit you to do it all the time?
No, I don't think it's good to do it all the time. I think that it's good to like hit them and then take a break. Like we're using a holistic approach to get well. So we're building a healthy lifestyle. We're doing all those other activity and nurturing your soul and balance, all of that. But you periodically knock back the bad and you are constantly building up the good. So it is really important to be having, let's say, raw sauerkraut, other fermented foods when your gut is well enough. Raw sauerkraut seems to be tolerated well enough. Homemade is a million times better than what you can buy, but it's still good to have raw sauerkraut. You can take probiotics without prebiotics if you have a disruption in your microbiome, because the prebiotics will feed the parasites in your gut also. So you can try it. And we just haven't had a lot of success with pills, like probiotic pills, but the raw sauerkraut is really great for helping to rebuild, especially if it's homemade. So
the bad part about that is that I can only eat it on a hot dog. So I'm ingesting parasites while trying to cure my gut biome. It might be a wash. I don't know. Terrible, terrible. Anyway, so as far as green walnut husk versus black walnut husk, we've had questions about that. I just had Dr. Artis on who was talking about green walnut. What's your take on that?
well, there are so many herbs that are really helpful, but it really depends on what you're dealing with, right? And so you can, that's where you need to start, is you need to figure out what, so most of our students are not even taking that, but it's not bad to take. It's just that we're working with the sickest of the sick. A lot of them are, or they're just on the verge of getting a diagnosis of some kind of neurological condition and they don't want it. So, and then they can turn it around.
Don't you find it strange that in this day and time, with all the research and everything that we've done and all the millions and billions poured into everything, and the doctors still sit there with a straight face and go, yeah, we just don't know. Just don't know. You have this thing that's probably genetic. And, but I say, but people in my family, oh, no, it's genetic. And somewhere along the line, somebody passed it to you and we can't do a thing about it. So we just have to treat the symptoms. Does that just still boggle your mind that they don't know in 2026 what's causing all these things?
Well, our system is set up this way. Like, I think it was in the 1950s that before that, doctors really believed that all chronic disease stemmed from infections in the body, and they were really working hard. So the research that I share with MS is like over 100 years old. They were finding like this malaria, babesia, and protozoa in MS. Like there's 75 studies about this, starting like in the 1800s, the late 1800s. And the same thing with the Borrelia, the spirochete bacteria that causes Lyme disease. They were finding this in 1911, like study after study. All of a sudden there was this shift that went from, like infection causes disease to, oh, your immune system is attacking your body for no reason. And there was a very wealthy person who had a lot of influence on the education of our doctors. So our whole system has gone into, like, since the 50s or 60s, is all autoimmune, all disease. They don't know what causes it. There's no cure. Take these immunosuppressive drugs for the rest of your life. And people are finally, like, thanks to the internet, thanks to shows like you, like what you're doing and sharing the truth, is that people are starting to go, what? This makes common sense. Like, this is the first time that this has made, like, nothing that I've been told has made common sense, but this is the first time that I can say that I, like, oh my gosh, my body is not attacking me. It's not going, like, destroying myself. It's like, it's just an infection. It's crazy.
It's the Johns Hopkins takeover. So we went from country doctors, and then the Johns Hopkins takeover was the Rockefellers. And they made sure that all the doctors went to certain schools and knocked out all the rest, and then basically kind of made the country doctor go away in favor of a script writer. So it was just all about scripts all the time. And it's really unfortunate because this is why the doctors are trained the way they are. We've done so many shows on that as far as the takeover goes, because most people in America don't realize that the doctors were never, from about the 30s or 40s, they weren't trained on health. They were only trained on treating symptoms through pharma. right?
Yeah. Managing symptoms.
Yeah. It's really quite sad. And here's another question. Can parasites block your body's conversion of T4 to T3 thyroid hormone? Thanks, Kristen.
Oh, there are at least 17 documented ways they can cause immune dysfunction and inflammation in the body. So they can make the immune system blind. Like all of the thyroid issues, it's so like thyroid medication is so incredibly common. A lot of people have recovered from Hashimoto's. Yes, it can totally affect your thyroid. Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Basically anything in the body, honestly.
So here, okay. So people are listening and watching, and they're wondering if they have them. What symptoms are the most common that are going to crop up that would dictate a problem to you if I went to you and said, I have XXXXX? Yeah. What would it be?
Well, I don't see these people because they're not sick enough yet. And people usually just think, oh, I'll just, that's part of getting older. But number one, gut issues, usually for years, like even with MS, they know that for years before a diagnosis, they have different types of gut issues. And it's very common to have like inflammatory bowel disease, irritable bowel syndrome with MS. So with the neurological disease, it's kind of like we're down the road. So gut issues, sleep, like if you have a hard time falling asleep, if you wake up throughout the night, that's another big sign. They're really active at night. Depression and anxiety is another really, really big, like those are big signs that like you need to start paying attention. And then for women, like thinking that your hormones are out of balance and you feel that you need to go see a doctor to get hormones, because it's like, no, your microbiome is out of balance. And if you correct it, and make sure you have optimal nutrition, then you will not have those issues. Fatigue and just feeling like air hunger, where you're just like, you're winded. You just find that you can't skip up the stairs. Like all of those things are kind of like warning signs to pay attention early and, start deworming kids. Like we need to like start deworming our children again, as the other countries do, so that is part of helping them to have a more balanced microbiome. And it's not just treating. I think that's a really important thing to say too, is that we're living in a time when there are so many things that are impacting our immune function. And so when we have parasites in the environment, our immune system is not dealing with them as well as it should, whether we're talking about the technologies that we're using. I don't know what I'm allowed to say or not for wording on here, so I just want to be careful.
Well, YouTube has a special issue,
I know. Oh, I know. I got slapped about a month ago. I got slapped at a time
so many times on YouTube. It's just amazing.
Yeah. So like, it's like our technologies, we have to really minimize the exposure. We still use technology safely, but there's a lot of heavy metals in our environment. And then we had that horrible virus that we went through, and then some of us had the therapy for it. And we're still seeing problems with that today. Like I just had a friend whose husband just died suddenly. And then luckily he was with people that brought him back, and he's like 40 and he's super fit. And this is like how many years later, right? And we're seeing like cancer rates are so high now. So like we have to really look at, like if they had that, then we have to consider to really help them to support their immune function too. It's not just about killing, it's about supporting your immune system in the time we're living, so that we can have a strong immune system to help us to defend the different parasites, right?
Yeah, for sure. So when, well, give us a couple of examples, like Parkinson's or MS, anything that you want, where people came to you, certain amount of symptoms, and then how long was it until they got the relief when you took them through the process that you take people through?
So I'll start with a little boy who is, I'm not going to say where he's at, but his mom found me in January, I think January the 8th. So his mom and dad decided to work in the Live Disease-Free plan. He was a healthy boy, played tennis, 12 years old. And then he went from that to a severe attack, being in a wheelchair, like really quickly, took him to the hospital. They did their tests and stuff, and they said he had multiple sclerosis. So within 3 days of, I don't know, less than a week for sure, of being in the hospital, his dad was there all the time and gave him our kind of food, like the healthy, nutritious, low carb, because the parasites love carbohydrates.
Not what the hospital serves, by the way.
No. But he literally was out of the wheelchair in just a few days. And so his doctors were like, like, what? Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And so he has been released now, and he is back home with his parents. And he went from eating only yogurt and oatmeal. That's all he wanted to eat. And now he's eating zucchini and vegetables and all that. And he's actually going to start playing tennis again. And he is back in school. He's doing chores again. And this was like since January, which is not that long ago. He's going to have a full recovery. He's able to like jog now and skip rope and jump and walk up the stairs, like 2 stairs at a time. And children are so resilient when you actually take the parasite load away from them quickly. Their body can really, oh, and he's passing what looks like flukes. Like his mom has been doing the enemas, and we're starting to see, and it looks exactly like that's what he's dealing with. And it makes a lot of sense because they're incredibly nasty. So he's going to have a full, beautiful life for the rest of his life. His parents they went through hell. They were so worried. They didn't know what was going on. Their family is super healthy. That's one case of just a child. And then I just wanted to share like Tracy, because you can see her videos. There's lots of students, but she's a retired dentist in Texas. So she's a medically trained person, and she did not learn anything about parasites in her training. And so when she found me last May, she was bedridden. Her husband had to do everything. She didn't have MS. She had all kinds of other diseases. She had arthritis. She had many different, you can listen to her talk, but her husband did everything. And it made sense to her when she found us. And because she's a healthcare professional, she just went really hard, treated really quickly, aggressively. She said she had a jar full of worms that her husband took to the office.
Oh my God.
He's also a dentist. So like they were both dentists, right? And so we shared it.
Oh my God.
But she like, I just get emails or updates from her. She's like, yeah, I'm on my exercise bike. She can travel. She can take care of her grandkids that she's never babysat before. She can like take care of them, cook for a family again, play in the pool with them, travel. They moved. And she's on her exercise bike, and she's just such a hero. Like she worked so hard, and she's back to just fully living her life and just loving her life. And yeah, it's crazy. So, and then like I said, we have some people that 10 years ago found us, or maybe 9 years ago, where it's our 10th anniversary, but 10 years ago, and they're still, from MS, they are just living their life, whether you can see them working out on social media, doing podcasts, wellness clinics. I have 2 of them that are doing wellness clinics. They're passionate to help other people. So, and this is like cancer. I like go on our website, livediseasefree.com, on our blog post. I've done just an updated one on the similarities between cancer and parasites. It's just like when you see that, you're just like, oh my gosh, like they're the same. And so maybe directly the parasites are causing cancer, or maybe the parasites are causing the changes of biochemistry in the body that the cells are growing. The cells are growing uncontrollably. But when you treat the parasites, the cancer stops. The people recover from cancer. So, and this is like the studies are going like, yeah, parasite drugs are the new up and coming treatments for cancer. I'm like, yeah, you guys have known that for decades. I mean, not everybody, but I mean, this research has been there for decades. So
yes, they've been using a lot of herbs to do it. And so what are the most common, like stomach, brain, like what are the most common ones that you're finding? Like, what do you have to?
Well, like one student, she might not have MS, but she was having difficulty breathing, swallowing, which is really serious, because if you can't swallow your food, then you're going to be on a feeding tube, and then you're going to get chemical soup, there's no nutrition in that, right? So for her, she's passing really big roundworms, and that's her biggest thing. But I think that like for the people that have the most significant sickness, it is the flukes, the flatworms, maybe tapeworms too, but definitely I would say flukes are the nastiest. They're really common. Oh, what's really interesting too is I found 3 studies where, when people have gallstones, they're finding fluke eggs in the center of gallstones.
What?
3 studies.
No way.
And that makes sense because flukes really love to live in the liver, gallbladder, ducts, like they're in that area, and they can lay like 200,000 eggs in a day. So yeah, so the flukes are the worst, and they're really common. And then roundworms, they can cause a lot of like allergies and just, mood issue. Like where I had one student who's like really healthy, like an elderly, maybe in her 60s, but just really fit, but she lived on a farm her whole life, and she passed so many big roundworms, and her allergies decreased like immediately, like just, and she's not cured of the worms, but she just dumped a bunch of the load, and she noticed, and she also found that she was weepy, where she's
Really?
has no reason to be weepy, but just like really easy to cry, and that just totally went away with treating the big worms. So like they can affect our mood and our cognitive function, especially like brain fog. We never talked about that. So like brain fog, all of that.
Jeez. What are the ones causing the hormone imbalances? What kind of parasite?
Go onto our website or even just do a Google search of livediseasefree.com. There's many different parasites that can impact or what we have for hormone symptoms. It could be flukes, it could be worms, it could be protozoa. So you can look to see what kind of parasites. So live disease free, do parasites and hormones. You'll find the blog post. There's always a shorter edited video. Plus you could just read my notes quickly if you want. But it's a library. Oh, and I wanted to share something too, because we're really close to launching it. But I have so much research, and I know people are relying more and more on AI, and AI is really programmed to follow the standard of care. So like they'll be like really discouraging you from doing things that are helpful. And it still makes a lot of mistakes, right? And so what I have been working at behind the scenes is I'm taking all of my research of 10 years of research, like all of my interactions with my students, all of the steps we take, and we're putting this into like a digital PAM. So
Nice.
where people are going to be able to get help much more quickly, to be able to get all their questions answered more quickly. And so we'll be launching that very soon here. It'll be kind of, so we can block out all of the noise and all of the information that really prevents people from moving forward, and really helping people to number one, understand why they're sick and what they need to do to get well. And it'll save them thousands of dollars, because there's so many things we don't need to do that is just a waste of money.
Jeez. Do you think this is behind like muscular dystrophy? This was one of the, LB had that question, arthritis, rheumatoid, all of those different things. Do you think it's parasite related? Those types of things too?
Yeah. So I always say to people, like, if you were born healthy, then, and you got sick with some kind of condition and it developed at some point, it's usually, I would say, I would almost bank on 100% that it is parasites, for sure. It is. And a parasite is any microbe that lives in your body and causes you harm. So it can be bacteria, it can be protozoa, it can be worms, or fungi. So.
Jeez. Oh my gosh. It's just nuts.
It is nuts. I feel like I live in the twilight zone all the time. Like, I really do.
I bet, because I mean, the doctors are just wired so differently. And if you bring up parasites, they have a puzzled look on their face. They don't even know how to address that.
No.
And it just is, that's stunning to me. I mean, it shouldn't be after all my research I've done on the Johns Hopkins medical takeover, but it just is stunning that they look at you like you have three heads. If you're saying, well, could it be parasites, especially for when they don't know. I mean, if I was a doctor and I was saying, hey, chemo at a 97% kill rate is wonderful, it's our only option. And by the way, if you have MS, we just don't know how it happened. So therefore, just do what we say, because there's a lot of rare neurological diseases that have cropped up that I would imagine are also stemming from parasites, right? That control function, right? Neurologically, right? Yeah. You would think that was going to be parasites.
It is. I mean, unless you lived in this radioactive, maybe there was a nuclear waste or something, or industrial, a bunch of toxins that you were exposed to in the water or something, that would be different. But most of us are not in that situation.
Can you reverse arthritis? Asks LB.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. Arthritis is an inflammatory, all diseases, they're inflammatory. That means your immune system is going after something foreign. It's job to go after it. And so in North America, we're like, oh, well, your immune system is attacking your tissue for no reason, we've got to shut it down. It's like, no, it needs support. It needs us to treat why our immune system is going after it, because it's an unfair war. Sometimes the the burden becomes too much for the immune system, and we need to support it and take some of the pressures off instead of shutting it down. So yes, you can recover from, it's just another, that actually Tracy was one. Her specialist gave her braces for her hands, like her hands were so crippled up, and now she is like, yeah, she's just doing everything now.
That's a miracle. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So as far as what's giving us these parasites, and I mean, you can talk about any of these things. When I'm thinking sushi, I'm thinking what's dropping on us in the sky. I'm thinking what we're eating. How have things changed over the last 30, 40 years? And what kinds of problems are we getting from kind of everything? Or what is the instigator of most of the parasites, do you think?
I think that the biggest problem was the overuse of antibiotics, because it really destroys our natural ecosystem in our gut. So that, and I was, a lot of us have been even a few times on it, because the antibiotics, they will save your life, and sometimes we have to use them. But if you do enough work on your microbiome, you're not going to need antibiotics in the future. You won't need them. So number one, antibiotics, like there's, I think since what is the 1930s or 40s when they were started to be introduced. So antibiotics are number one. Number two, there's a lot of factors in our environment that we weren't dealing with many years ago. So like you said, like the technology, the wireless radiation that we're exposed to really suppresses the immune system. So we can use technology safely, and we have to really do that. Really important. And then, like you said, what's in the air, like what is being dropped on us, is another factor. So like we have to be aware of these things, and we have to constantly detox. We have to constantly build our healthy microbes. We need to be constantly bringing them in. And the biggest factor is that we should just treat twice a year. That is just something that we should adopt like other countries have, because that's probably a big factor why we have the high levels of chronic disease. And what really is crazy is that, you know, I have horses, and I've had veterinarians take my program. They're with sick animals every day, and those animals are full of parasites. And so they end up themselves being really sick in their 40s, 50s, or 60s, and they just are loaded with the parasites they got from treating sick animals. So it's like such common sense, right?
Right. If you grew up with a pet, if you had a dog or a cat, what's the likelihood of having an enormous amount of parasites as you grow up from a young age?
It's very likely, but it's not just from that. Like you could be walking outside barefoot, and if there's certain worms in the soil, they will hook onto you. If you're swimming in the lake, if you accidentally drink, like you just got to live, right? You just have to enjoy your life. And I love animals, and I'm going to keep having them, but I'm just going to be treating my animals like our vets do it 3 times a year. And I'm going to be treating myself at least twice a year and listening to my body. I know when I need to treat, like I can tell, like, it's not like I have MS, but you can just notice like little changes in your gut or whatever. And you do it then before you end up with chronic disease. And that way you stay out of the care homes. Otherwise, that's what, like my dad just died this last year, and he had a lot of parasites. And if we would have treated parasites in Canada, he would have still been alive. He was super healthy, no medication, strong heart, strong brain, just gut. And he just had, you know, the diarrhea, the pain, the whatever, he just wasted away. And I tried to get help for him, but I could not, because the country we're in. And yeah, so like we really have to treat and just be proactive. And it was real eye opener being in the care homes. I love the care he got. They were really awesome, but I don't want to be in there. Like,
I know, no one does. No one does. And so what about dementia? And because it's so on the rise. I mean, I can't even believe how many. It used to be a little more of a rare occurrence, and now it is just, I mean, I feel like it's in every person over 60. So what's been going on with dementia, and what's the other one? Alzheimer's.
It's all the same. So the biggest base camp of the disruption in your microbes is in your gut. So you've got to work on correcting that. But by the time we have even migraines or cognitive impairment, the infections have gone into the brain. And so, yes, then, I mean, some of the herbs, they can cross the blood-brain barrier. If you make them liposomal, maybe a small percentage will go through. Diet is really huge. Like if you want to live a long, healthy life, then the more you can optimize nutrition and really manage the carbohydrates, it's
Mhm.
going to it makes such a difference because the parasites thrive on sugar. They force our cells to go into like glycolysis, which is like an inefficient way to burn sugar. They need sugar. They're sugar hogs. Same with cancer, like all that, anything that causes or that is caused by parasites, it thrives on carbohydrates and simple sugar. So it is really important to manage that a lot. And what I say for myself is like, I'm so free of that because I gave up sweets years ago. I don't have cravings. I can watch somebody eat something sweet and I'm free. So, it's a sacrifice, but you're
Yeah,
free.
right. Live disease free, and you can be free of those kinds of things too. So, what
Yeah.
about as far as like all of the things with aging? Everybody, I mean, I'm getting older. Everybody falls apart after 50, but they don't need to be falling
No,
apart, right? And so,
no.
like, I know edema and all of these different things.
Yeah.
Parasites could be at the core of that because they all do different symptoms, right? And I know
Yeah.
when you're working with people, and by the way, you can work with Pam. She'll work with you. She's really good, and she's got a fantastic program. And I think it's just amazing that we do blame it on old age. But you're saying so many of these things. I mean, I'm even looking at you, and I'm like, there is no way she's 65. So all of these things can be parasitical, right? So my gosh, to think about that, either parasites or bacteria, I think are the issues we deal with. I think there's been a lot of lies out there about everything else, but I think that the parasites is something that is crucial because how often are you're doing it twice a year, right?
Yeah,
Every
I do it twice a year for sure.
do most people need to do that?
I personally think so. And
Mhm.
like it really depends again how you feel. Like if you have high energy, you're sleeping well, you don't wake up, your cognitive function is sharp, your gut health is super, then maybe once a year. But if you have had a history of those kind of issues and the herbs are not enough, then you really need to do a more comprehensive program. And it's well worth it because they keep reproducing inside of us. They don't just stay in the gut, right? The immature forms, they move into our blood, they move into our tissue, they cause cysts, they move into the central nervous system,
Mhm.
and they cause disease. And it's really important to be treating that proactively, managing it, and also building the good microbes.
Are people prone to a certain kind? Like if you're going to get something and let's say you get rid of it, you go through your program at livediseasefree.com, you go through your program and then are they prone to get the same ones usually?
Well,
And
if I've worked with students, like it takes a lot to like clear them permanently. I don't know that you can totally sterilize your body
Mhm.
because like we're dealing with, one worm producing 200,000 eggs in a day. And then there's biofilms where the eggs can be hiding under biofilms in your body. They can be like your intestines are squished into your abdomen. And so they could be stuck in a corner or behind. So what you're doing is you're decreasing their presence in you to the point where you feel amazing. And then you're managing that for the rest of your life. So I don't think that you're ever sterile, like sterilized from them. I don't think it's possible, but you can decrease them significantly. And then you have to look at your exposure to them too. Like, are you washing your hands? Are you, who's preparing your food? Like, are they, like even going to restaurants, if you have people that are preparing your food and they're not washing their hands and you're eating salads and things. And
what do you wash your produce in?
you can do food grade hydrogen peroxide. That
Mhm.
is really helpful. You can just make it diluted and do that. That's a simple one. I could say there's another one, but I don't want to say the name of it.
Yeah.
So it's like oxygen type
Mhm.
liquids that can help to,
Dr. Lee Merritt talks about it a lot if you listen to this show a lot. Dr. Lee Merritt talks about it a
yeah,
lot.
yeah.
Mhm.
It's incredibly helpful.
Mhm. Okay. And are there certain foods that you could eat on a daily basis that would kind of help eliminate these even without treatments? No.
I don't think so. Like there's all these things about pumpkin seeds and different types of,
Okay.
pomegranate seeds, and you can take them. They're healthy, but we haven't found that they make a big difference.
Oh my gosh. Anything else as far as questions that you normally get from people that I'm not asking, that we have not covered? Because I know there's so many things I'm probably missing, because I know that we all need to be doing this. But oh, by the way, I was going to ask you about, so you have ivermectin, but you also have fembendazole, membendazole, and all of those too, right? So are
I
those
can list some of the names. So fenbendazole, not a lot of our students use it. It's helpful for certain things. I know that there's a gentleman who had a terminal type of cancer and it really helped him.
right?
But we don't see that it's not one of the most helpful ones that we use. So like our students don't even really use them. There would be albendazole, there is mebendazole. So those would be two that treat roundworms, but they also will help to treat the others. There's like overlap. So it's not like
Okay.
this is only for this. It's like, this is most helpful for this type of worm, but then these others can be helpful too. So there's ivermectin. So when there's the need for it, albendazole and ivermectin is more of a synergistic combination. So you're going to have a better killing effect.
Okay.
There's also Alinea or nitazoxanide, and so that will treat. It's a really broad spectrum parasite drug that a lot of practitioners really like. It will treat different types of roundworms and some tapeworms. It's even antifungal properties, some anti-protozoa properties. And then there is praziquantel, which is a lot harder to get. It's quite expensive. It's called Beltricide also, and that is more of the flatworm medication for the flukes and the tapeworms.
Okay.
And then there's triclobendazole, which is another one for flukes especially. And then there's niclosamide, which would be more for tapeworms. I'm trying to think if there's any. Those are kind of like the parental palmawate, sometimes called combantrin, is really helpful. So our students are usually testing well for 3 to 5 parasite drugs at a time.
Right.
Nobody takes 1 or 2 to get well. Even if let's say we've cornered it down that they're really passing flukes, they might even be doing like a lot of raw garlic with 3 or 4 different parasite drugs. So like I said, we're using a combination of things, and it's like absolutely wild, like what comes out of them. Like a lot of people that are like newly diagnosed, they're like, some of your other students, Pam, that are like, they're sicker, they've been sick for a long time. And then they start treating like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe what's coming out of me.
Oh, gosh, I know. Yeah. And by the way, allfamilypharmacy.com/Kate, allfamilypharmacy.com/Kate. You can get a deal this week on all of those things that she mentioned, actually. But to find out how to take them, if all of them are necessary, some of them are necessary, what combination, what amounts, go through Pam. Because I know a lot of people that just waste a lot of money on just parasite stuff they get off of Amazon, and it's not really doing what they need it to do. So then the problems persist, right? So we're not really solving anything. So if you can go and work with Pam, this is your best avenue, because I know how she works with people, and she's amazing, and she knows her stuff. And I would say get some help on it, because I think our health's worth it. I think about all the money people waste on going to the doctor and all the different things they tell you to do for symptoms. And I'm like, man, just work with Pam. She'll eliminate the thing. And then also you're getting the help that you need, and you don't have to go waste a bunch of money on doctors and trying to get them to not acknowledge parasites and say that you don't have them. I mean, when was the last time anybody went to the doctor and your doctor said, when did you have your last parasite cleanse? Never.
It's just insane. It really is insane.
It is. So we should be doing this with our kids, right?
Well, yes, but you have to know what you're doing. Like you can't, don't just give your kids. I am not an advocate for just, treating your kids when you don't know what you're doing. Yeah, you can hurt them. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else people need to know? Because I know the interest in this has gotten a lot higher ever since, we started talking about the shots day one and Blovid. I call it Blovid because it blows. COVID, the lie. But everyone is talking more about parasites, and I've heard more about it, which is very encouraging. Yet, like you said, AI kind of takes you in some different directions, and like it's programmed. But anything else that you feel like people really need to know, that they're coming to you and saying, well, I saw this on the internet. Is there anything like that where you've had to correct it?
Well, there's always like these popular trends, right? So there's like the ivermectin, fenbendazole, like our students don't do that. Like it's just a complete waste of time. Like don't start treating unless you know what you need,
Don't
you're
just
using the right doses, because it's, you can hurt yourself. That's one thing if you take too much, but most people don't take too much. Is that if you just take something and you don't know what you're doing, the parasites become resistant and this drug will not help you in the future. They do that very easily. So you want to, like, when you're ready, have a game plan and hit them over multiple cycles until you're feeling really well, until you're well again. And I wanted to also share, like, there is hope. So if you've been told that there is no hope for you, I'm a hopeless optimist. Like I'm hopeful all the time, because I believe that we have this amazing body and it's programmed, it's genetically programmed, it knows how to operate. We just have to take away what is interfering with it running properly, support it, give it the nutrition, bring back the good microbes, and then you can live a long, healthy, and happy life. And that's why I do this work, because God gave me a second chance. And I feel morally obligated to help bring this truth out. Like there's so many truths in this world right now. Like you're covering a lot of them in your show. And I can't do all of them. This is my corner. This is the one thing that I can do to help bring, truth and healing to people. So
well. You're doing it well.
thank you.
And I feel like, people just they need to know how to do it and what to do, because it's been so bypassed. So the last 60 years of medicine where they just write pharma and that's it. And so you're right. Don't just take a couple of things that you've heard about. Make sure that you're getting the guidance for the symptoms, because it's going after what symptoms are you having so that we can actually correct the right problem. Right. So that's the biggest disconnect, I think, for people, is that they have symptoms. They just don't know what those symptoms mean.
Right. Absolutely.
Right? And it's completely different for all kinds of different people. Can you reverse something that's played neurological havoc, rare diseases, things like that? Can you actually reverse getting rid of the parasites, or does it kind of, once you're doing the parasites, where you're at right now, you're not going to get worse, but you might not get better? I don't know.
So for the students that I work with, what I can say to them is if they follow the steps properly, if they treat parasites effectively, they will have more recovery than they ever thought possible. I can never promise full recovery, but what we're seeing with people that are really, really sick with years of disability is that if the issue is still in the inflammation stage, that can be reversed. And it's usually just an inflammation. So we've had people like 40 years that their hand was clenched like a claw. And then all of a sudden they wake up one morning and their hand is open, and then they have to do physio to learn how to use it again. So that's the exciting part. And that's why this message has to go far and wide, is that like there is so much that is not permanent damage that can be reversed. A lot of people can have full recoveries, and worst case scenario, you have so much recovery, you're off the meds, you're off the adverse effects, and you can stay in your home. You don't have to end up. That's another big thing with MS, is like we're taken out of our home and we're in a care home and we're away from our family. Our family can't take care of us anymore because it gets to be too burdensome for them. So there's a lot of hope, but our next phase, this is like, I've had lots of obstacles, but our next phase is getting this to doctors. I'm really hoping that we can, like, even diagnostic tools and things like that, because they don't have good diagnostic tools right now for parasites.
Is there something called a good parasite? Because I know people will say, but there are good parasites in your body.
Well, that is no, a parasite by definition is something that causes you harm. So that there are studies where they're trying to tell us that giving MS patients worms is immune modulatory. No. Parasites suppress the immune system. They do not modulate the immune system. There is so much.
I feel like I just asked you, is Satan bad? I mean, people do that, though. The doctors are, oh yeah, parasites are good. You should have some in, So I had to ask you, because people do think that. They think that they should have some.
It's a decoy. It's an intentional decoy to get us off track. Absolutely.
Okay. So if you need help, this is the woman to go to. And I know, because I've had friends work with her and they think she's amazing. So I am telling, she solved their problem. So please go to Pam, because I'm always all for, look, make this simple. Make this simple. Go right to the source. Go right to the person that's been working on it for a long time, who has a vested interest in solving this. And I'm so glad that you're out there helping people. Talk about a focused path for you in life, and God has been good to you in helping you figure out how to move through this with people, because people just need the help. So she's worked with so many people, and you can do it remote from home, right?
Yes,
So you can
absolutely.
be anywhere and work with Pam, but livediseasefree.com. And I just think it's amazing. And I think a lot of 20 somethings and 30 somethings are now saying, hey, I should probably go do this. Get Pam's advice when you do it, because then you're not wasting a bunch of money on products from Amazon. You're actually going to go after the source, right? So live disease free. And I'm so thankful for you. Thank you. This was really enlightening. Thank you, Pam. Pam Bartha. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kate, for being such a wellness champion, a truth teller. It's only because of people like you that the truth is coming out. And so thank you so much.
Thank you. You know, it's purpose driven for both of us. And that's why I immediately had a feeling actually to contact Pam when I was doing a show on parasites. Isn't that crazy? Your information came by me pretty quickly, and I knew in my gut that I was supposed to talk with you. So I just think that's kind of amazing how he works. So I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. And be faithful, be fearless, you guys. And for some reason, my intro music isn't popping up, so I don't know why that is, but I really appreciate Pam. So Pam Bartha, livediseasefree.com. Go get her help. Mention my name, how you heard about her, but she is truly doing some magnificent things, and I really appreciate you. Thank you, Pam.
Thank you, Kate.
Share this with everyone you know. Love you guys. Talk to you tomorrow.